It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And of course, my favorite part of the show, it's when Tim reveals what is in his background. And I'm almost afraid to say it today. I'm gonna say it's the minnow, because you have this hope that there are 5 survivors on some island somewhere. Let's take a look. Here we go.
Well, you're close. It's
Okay.
it's billionaires doing stupid things.
Oh, okay. I can't see it. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
It's the Octagon in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Okay.
For those who might have missed the item because of the news story that I didn't want to talk about.
Right.
Is Elon Musk challenged Mark Zuckerberg to a cage match?
Well, and it's about time. We're both in Musk's corner, of course, because I think he is eliminating the use of cisgender on Twitter. I mean, the First Amendment streak in me says, well, don't do that,
Sure.
But sure, the politically incorrect in me says, it's been a bad month it's been a bad Pride month, hasn't it? I mean, it's almost like,
seems that way.
I remember when the Gay Pride, it was called the Gay Pride Parade. I worked, for the local Learner newspapers, and they had
but that's just
Belmont Booster.
That's just one letter of the alphabet. So
right,
I mean, they
it was nothing.
Take the G out.
Right, and it wasn't even, lesbians weren't even recognized at that point. Not to mention Apple Plus 2 or whatever it is right now. But and I'll never forget the editor of the paper had this gigantic picture of a man in a Statue of Liberty outfit, and it was supposed to be outrageous. You were supposed to laugh at it and everything. And now Channel 7 is going to be broadcasting very seriously live the parade on Sunday. Now, they used to have it taped because that way they can make sure that they weren't going to get all the more flamboyant exhibits on television. So I don't have they cleaned that up at all? I mean, is it rated PG?
I doubt it.
Are we going to have the? Yeah,
I mean, they might have made it family friendly. You know what? There's always going to be a few people there. There's always going to be one or two
but
going over.
Right. I mean, it didn't say whether it was sponsored by Bud Light or not. So, and I've got to confess, we still shop at Target. I hope there's no backlash against me. It's just convenient, and it's empty now. So it's great. Yeah. Chicago.
The use of the word cis. Now, here's an interesting thing to me. Is in the past, we always allowed the marginalized group to pick their label, right? Isn't that the way it always worked? It's it's the reason why we're not allowed to say what the CP stands for, an NAACP, and the college fund. You're not allowed to use that word anymore, even though that was the anthropological term.
That was their choice too. I mean, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we don't want to be called cis, we don't have to be called cis. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I would prefer to be called straight. That's what I call it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, tough guy. Meantime, turning to the news, and I hate to do this because it's like breaking news, and who knows when people are going to actually see this and how it's going to play out. But there's this story that the DOJ allegedly tipped off Hunter Biden before a search was conducted on his storage unit and stopped an investigation into a WhatsApp message in which Biden demands payment from Chinese officials, noting that his father is in the room. Now, when I read that, I'm figuring, well, you're going to believe Hunter Biden when he says his father's in the room? I mean, I've got a FOIA card to sell you or whatever. But it's possible.
Well, that's a lot like the threat that Joe Biden used when it said, "Well, you're not the president." To say, "Well, give him a call if you don't believe me." I mean, it's the same kind of threat, isn't it? Saying he's right here, he's right here, he's next to me.
Right. Well, meantime, I mean, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, just a few weeks ago, I think, or a couple of months ago, said that there was no there there to the charges against Hunter Biden. And here he is pleading guilty to a couple of charges. And of course, immediately you get, well, there's nothing, from the left, especially this guy, Andrew Weissman. You know who he is? He was the
lead prosecutor on the Mueller
probe.
Actually, he was the Mueller. He was the Mueller probe because Mueller, when Mueller testified, we realized he's suffering from Joe Biden disease.
Right. Mueller was a cutout. Weissman is the guy. Well, after striking out on that one, he then says, well, it's too bad that we don't prosecute these gun crimes, but that's the law. Well, no, you're wrong, you stupid son of a bitch. We do prosecute these when you lie on one of those forms and you're involved with drugs. You don't get a diversion program. It doesn't happen that way. And I saw some outrage from defense attorneys who defend black people, okay, who said they could never get less than 3 to 5 years when they had a gun charge like that, as well as don't try and divert me into your diversion program right now, Chris, our producer, with the nude photos that you're showing of Hunter. Man,
showing two gun charges.
Some heat there. Yeah. So anyway, he could have gotten 10 years, or if not that, he could have gotten some serious jail time for the combination of things that happened there. But he didn't, because he's the president of the United States' son. And now when we've got this stuff coming out about China, maybe this is the thing that actually sinks Joe Biden. No?
Well, you would think it's I mean, gosh, China got Taiwan for just $10 million. That is that is a deal unheard of since the Dutch bought Manhattan for $26.
24. Let's maybe through inflation and everything, it's now 26. But no, but yeah, Blinken comes back. When he's appropriately named, because we certainly blink when the negotiations occur. He comes back. There's no mention of Wuhan, even though the latest is that it's the lab theory is getting more credence every day. They got the spy balloons, South China Sea, what's going on there, and we basically are go ahead. They're saying
that it's now that they think that patient zero, the first person to have COVID, was a Wuhan scientist who ate bat soup, who loved bat soup, by the way.
No, I mean, so it's right. So we're giving away the store there. I've got to think that that this Hunter thing, a lot of times, I remember Billy Carter. He was minor league compared to Hunter. Families have black sheep. I mean, Biden himself is the black sheep of his family. But
the difference between Billy and Hunter is Jimmy tried to hide Billy as much as he could. Is Joe is taking Hunter around the world with him, introducing him to notable people in corporations and in government leaders. I mean,
didn't he just go on that trip to Ireland with him and slept in the same room, probably while they were texting oligarchs, whatever, and Chinese warlords and demanding payments. If I was Hunter's dad on a trip to Ireland, I would want to make sure I kept an eye on him. Because that's that makes sense, but I got a feeling it was Hunter who was keeping an eye on Joe just to wake him up for his rigorous schedule there. No, I saw it just seems like this should redound to the Republicans' benefit, but it's if you do the math and maybe the math really doesn't add up, maybe putting in the wrong variables.
Well, I heard ABC.
Biden still beats Trump. That's the problem. I mean, he loses to DeSantis, but he beats Trump. No,
I still heard ABC say that. I mean, it came out today. I don't know. Am I going into a further story? But the Adam Schiff thing in Congress is ABC said, well, they did find evidence that Russians were interfering in the election. That's what ABC News said. That's how they ended up that story. So I mean,
the guy got censured.
Right.
You know how many times somebody's been censured in Congress since the Republic began? I mean, it's a handful. Although there was a guy, just a couple of years ago.
It's one for every $1 what they paid for Manhattan. It's 26.
Right.
I heard.
Yeah. I mean, look, Adam Schiff just flat out lied. He said that he had all this intelligence, and whoever was testifying, Obama officials testifying before the committee in secret, were saying, "Oh, we don't have anything. We don't have any connection here." And then he'd go out in the public and say, "Oh yeah, we got stuff." I mean, he just made stuff up. And he's running for senator in California. I mean, I'd rather have Feinstein in there than Adam Schiff. She couldn't do much harm. But yeah, there's no right. So yeah, so that's how they tie that up in a bow. And of course, Durham testifies, and Schiff again. I mean, the ultimate in chutzpah. They say the ultimate in chutzpah is when a kid murders his parents and then asks for mercy from the court because he's an orphan. I mean, that's Adam Schiff. I mean, because how he could go out there, in the face of lying repeatedly. I guess when the answer to a lie is yet another lie. So yeah, he deserved to be censured there. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Take a look at that horse race, if you will. Right now, you see that Donald Trump's at 47% support among Republican and Republican leaners. DeSantis at 26%. Everyone else single digits. But note here the change. So back in May, Donald Trump was at 53% support. He's down 6 points. That's one note of caution. How about favorability about Donald Trump? Take a look here. Now he's down at 67% favorable among Republicans and Republican leaders. That's 10 points below the 77% he was at just in May. And those that say they will never consider Donald Trump for the Republican Party nomination are on the rise.
Well, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Not have to worry about what CNN has to say.
Take that, Mr. DeSantis.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Right. So I'm going to contradict something that I said in the last segment. It's okay. I can plead in the alternative. So we've talked about Mark Halperin before, and I think he might have been on the Commentary podcast. I can't remember this. And he's the one who in 2015 said, "Oh, watch out for Trump." So, and he's not like a Trump supporter at all. But he said, suburban voters who see the unfairness about Hunter will vote for Trump. That could happen. And also, it was argued by John Podhoretz on this podcast, I guess. He says, well, Trump taps out at 74 million and Biden at 81 million. And Halperin then said, Biden won't get the 81 million this time. Of course, you don't think he'll get it because he won't be able to cheat as much.
Because I don't think he got it. I don't think he got it the first time. That does not look like an $81 million candidate. Yeah, and the 7 million votes isn't really what matters. What matters are Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, and you got any number of issues like inflation. So what was that
Kamala
like?
Harris, or
40,000 between
40,000? 40,000 votes.
40 to 100,000.
Yeah, so I mean, it's possible that this will knock Biden out, because remember in the last in his first election, he not that a guy who has like a 50-year record has a clean slate, but somehow he did.
Well, blank slate.
Good old Uncle Joe. Yeah, right. Totally blank. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the nicest way of describing Fetterman, Biden, and Feinstein as tabula rasa. So would it be tabulae rasa? Anyway,
I'd throw Hank Johnson into that.
That's shot for Trump. I'm sorry.
I would throw Hank Johnson into that mix as well.
Oh, the Hank Johnson, who did say, and you can look it up on Google if you don't believe that, folks, that he thought that Guam, wasn't it Guam, might
tip
sink
over if we
had
put too many Marines
people on it. It would tip over. Well, there is a tipping point. I mean, I could see it true.
Does Guam have a
regiment?
Does Guam have a representative in Congress? I know the Virgin Islands
that I don't know.
Do, but I don't know if you think.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You think
I know
Guam
there are
would
435. Yeah, there's the story. Hank Johnson worries Guam could capsize after Marine built. But they're wearing so much equipment too, and wouldn't that be a great exercise? For the Marines. You're running, you're scaling walls and things like that, and then the whole island tips over, and you have to negotiate that. So as for the actual charges against Trump, he of course admitted his guilt in an interview with Brett Baer, which was kind of fun. I think the guy is playing 10D chess, because it's almost like, if you're going to throw me in jail because I just wanted to make sure that my pants and golf shirts were properly secured, well, then go right ahead. And it's making a farce of the whole thing. But he did. Yeah.
Did you see pictures of his office? My gosh, it was just junk everywhere. So yeah, I fully believe that he said, take all the stuff that's in the Oval Office and put it in these boxes. And there probably were a lot of golf hats and shirts and other mementos that, wallets that Girl Scout troops made them and stuff like that.
Yeah. I have no doubt around the area. It does not seem like he had any nefarious purpose. And then, of course, he even says he wasn't even showing any Iranian war plans. It was just an article about it. So who knows? But
Well, that for me is like when a guy is joking around and says, well, if you found out, I'd have to kill you. That's what it sounded like to me. It's like, I have this, but I could show it to you, but it's so classified, man.
Right. Look, I'm willing to trade. Trump was just, puffing himself. I mean, this is the guy who talks about big crowds that don't exist. He wasn't really showing that. He was just, he was exaggerating, just like Hunter was exaggerating when he says that his father was in the room with him. So,
okay. Here's the big question. Okay. Does the Justice Department now have possession of that map that apparently he showed the guy?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question.
And the guy he showed it to, was he a witness? Did he actually testify in front of the grand jury and say, yeah, he showed it to me? I could see the classic.
I'm not sure about that. These are very good questions. Yeah. Look, I'm doing a very superficial podcast right here, and you're getting too deep into this, the nitty gritty. I mean, I already plagiarized from the commentary podcast. I'm just regurgitating what I heard during the week. But I did. So Brett Baer interviews Trump, and of course, then Brett Baer gets this blowback from Trump supporters that he trapped him or something, or is trying to make Trump out to look bad, and then. And among the things, people were accusing Fox once again of calling Arizona early on election night. And Brett Baer was put in the position on Twitter this past week of defending the Fox call on Arizona on election night, when in fact we know, according to discovery in the Dominion case, that Brett Baer wanted a slow walk announcing the results, and at one point wanted to put Arizona back in Trump's column where it had never been. So he's defending something that he himself doesn't believe in, because we know this from his from the testimony in the Dominion case. I mean, it's so nutty. And then of course the aforesaid Andrew Weissman. He tweeted that this was the best thing for the government. It was Trump talking to Brett Baer, and he said the defense du jour, and he spelled du jour, DOJOUR, And he said, the defense du jour is, I lied to the DOJ and said I returned everything because, wait for it, I was too busy to go through the boxes to separate the personal and the government documents. And my big question was, did Weissman misspell du jour on purpose? I mean, he's a renowned smart guy. And speaking of dumb guys, are we going to throw an ex-president in jail because he didn't do the kabuki theater like Hillary did? I mean, that's the whole thing. She just... up and down the line, that thing was rigged from the get-go. You had the president of the United States, Obama, 2 or 3 months before the FBI had concluded its investigation by saying, "Oh, there's no there." Well, I mean, he's the head of the federal government, so just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous stuff. Do you think Trump will actually see jail time in this?
I think it'd be fun if he'd campaign from jail. That's that hasn't been,
me too.
That has
too.
not been done since I can't remember his name, the socialist campaigned from jail and actually got 1 million votes.
Eugene Debs?
Was it? Yeah, I think it was.
Was that Eugene Debs?
Yeah. Got a million votes from jail.
I'm just guessing. It's the only socialist. That's so funny.
Well, Lyndon LaRouche too, but
right,
Lyndon LaRouche never got more than a couple.
Oh,
thousand.
Lyndon LaRouche. That's what. Yeah, Chris is asking. Lyndon LaRouche.
No, it was Eugene Debs, I believe.
So anyway, all right, pivoting right here. So yeah, as we're taping this, I mean, just a couple of hours ago, they said that the submarine that carried the tourists, the submersible, imploded. Yeah. And there go all the jokes that I had. I don't know what's wrong with me and my dotage, Tim. I can't shock jock as much as I used to. I mean, like I wanted to say things like, but I'm not gonna, like, and they didn't even have an orchestra to play them out. I had thought, have you seen the story about these whales that are
attacking
not technically
yachts?
Killer whales? They're whales. They're whales that are attacking boats. Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
The story? I was just hoping
maybe
we could, maybe we could have sent the whales down to 12,000 feet and rescue them, dislodged the.
But it might have been a whale attacking it, or a whale, because the way to look at it could have been a whale tried to mate with it, and that's what caused the implosion.
Sure. Okay. Then there's also, I'm glad we're workshopping this one. There's the whales attacking. I thought that, in my mind, I was thinking that it had gotten stuck in part of the Titanic itself.
Yeah. No, apparently not. Apparently just the pressure was too much for the design of the ship. And a lot of people are getting down on the video controller. I mean, that's that's everyone's big joke. If it was an Apple keyboard controlling it, would people have been so
sure
making such a joke out of it? Because I would suggest that a Sega video controller is built more durably than an Apple keyboard.
Okay, so let's have that fight too. Why don't we have that as the undercard in the Zuckerberg Musk match from your Octagon? And of course, we like billionaires in general, unless they're named Soros, but or Pritzker, but the left has this gut. It's all envy too. That's what motivates them, and that's why they want to level everything all the time. That the billionaires got what they deserved.
No, it's not envy. They just think that money would be better spent on the needy rather than a trip to the bottom of the ocean. Which
right, when of course everybody knows the money is in the middle class, and you got to soak the middle class. and soaking the billionaires is just a gateway drug to getting to the middle class. All right, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
Yeah, that meeting is still going on right inside that door, and that vote came down just minutes ago. As you said, the council voting unanimously to approve the resolution. Take a look at the vote.
Councilman Rafai.
Yes.
Councilman Mahmoud.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, Resolution 23.
And that vote coming after hours of contentious debate.
But we will have the world in 2 straight miles. So it's a little bit, it's covert, so it's not right on the nose.
Big displays of public disapproval for the proposed resolution, followed by a very public display of affection.
I'm all for removing the gay pride flag. Because you know what? Let me tell you something. This is America. I have the right to say I'm against the gay pride flag.
Usual Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Yeah, like I say, Tim, it's been a bad Pride Month. A lot of things going against Pride. Maybe they should just cut it down to one parade or something.
Or maybe a day.
I think they've overextended.
Or it used to be just a week, right? It went from a Pride parade to Pride week to Pride month. It actually expanded, didn't it?
Oh yeah, and the colors on the flag expand, and then of course you have it flown at the White House against the law. Not that the law matters.
Shouldn't there be a Pride holiday? I mean, we've got 2 black holidays now. Shouldn't we have a? Isn't there someone like we have like Harvey Milk Day or something like that?
It's a good idea. I was actually concerned with the opposite, that I thought this whole Pride Month was dwarfing, for example, Juneteenth. We're trying to celebrate Juneteenth, and I had a problem because I bring out the garbage cans on Sunday night out to the curb, but on Mondays, if there's a holiday, they wait till Tuesday. But so I brought the garbage cans out, and nobody else had brought their garbage cans out, and I'm thinking, is the neighborhood going to think I'm racist because I don't recognize Juneteenth as a holiday? But as it turned out, apparently neither does the garbage company recognize it, because it did pick up the garbage.
Just yours
on Monday. But I was a little worried about.
You were the only one. You were the only one that put it out. You were the only one that knew better. Huh?
Well, ultimately, they did put the rest of them. Followed suit. They followed the Pied Piper of garbage, and they put it out as well. But I felt guilty about that. And of course, at times like this, you look to the great President Obama, who apparently since he left office, he's shifted in tone. And remember how Michelle was very proud for the first time in her life of America when we elected Barack Obama the president.
Sure.
But since then, we've gone downhill, apparently, because the one we have been waiting for is now gone, and we're not. We've got a lot of ground to make up, and doesn't it make you feel guilty, Tim?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Though, I think that whoever it was, I don't know if it was the Hallmark Corporation that originally declared Father's Day, really picked a bad day when they made it the third Sunday in June, as because
for Father's Day.
Yeah, because it now it always seems to fall the day before Juneteenth, which is an opening for a lot of comical comparisons.
Right, it's going to make a lot of people embarrassed. It's like what just happened recently. Did you see that? Somebody, either the American Medical Association or some group, has said that BMI, body mass index, is racist, because unfortunately,
yeah,
BLM doesn't like BMI. If you catch my drift, although I understand that BMI is not really a good measurement anyway. You got to look at other factors as well. But even with those other factors, no, you're right. You got to change the Father's Day. No, you're totally right about that. Now, did you see?
Maybe they should call it BMI plus, so that it's body mass index.
Right? Yeah.
Body positive.
But that would sound like a
index.
That's one way of looking at it, or you might think plus size. So you may have to rethink that one. But there was this anchor woman on television who decided, in honor of Juneteenth, that she would just show her natural hair. And, I'm saying, hey, I can't wait to see Cheryl Burton's gray hair because, I mean, who are we kidding here? So, yeah, let's go natural. Then there was this Willowbrook, festival that got out of hand on Juneteenth. Are you aware?
Yeah.
What happened in Willowbrook, unincorporated Willowbrook. And apparently they're lionizing this guy who was killed. And of course, it's terrible that he was killed. But as my former partner, Dan Proft, pointed out, the guy had a rap sheet a mile long. So I just, and the TV in the media, of course, will always celebrate him as, the martyr, and he was such a wonderful dude and everything like that. But he had a rap sheet a mile long.
Well, it's rare. It's rare that the right one gets killed. I mean, usually when there's a shooting, it's always the girl coming home late from the library who was the honor student and just got accepted into Harvard. That's the usual story. But so it was a gangbanger that actually got it. Was the
by the way,
one that
folks. By the way, folks, Tim's views are strictly his own. I don't. The right guy got it. Okay. And here's what I was thinking though. We've got these Mayor Johnson, in his answer to the crime problem, of course, is to build more statues, and the city council approved like 8 new statues, and at least one of them is for people who've been the victims of police brutality. And I was just, why don't we have a statue of this guy who died, but of him with his rap sheet next to him? And then not to rub it in that he had a rap sheet, but just to say, we've got to get to the root causes of things. And then, that's the only way we're going to eliminate this problem. So don't hide the rap sheet.
Well, I think there's a lot of other things though that could be used for Chicago monuments if we really want to memorialize Chicago history. I mean,
sure,
we should have a monument to the Great Flood of '92. It's who can forget the tunnels filling up in the loop and stuff trying to plug it up with old mattresses.
But I'll give it. Mayor Daley handled that right. He handled that right because he had taken a lesson from Mayor Bilandic, who in '79 was in Florida during the big snowstorm, and that was it. And Bilandic, well, later he became a judge. It was just like he was so above it all that what do I need to be in Chicago? And of course, he was probably way ahead of his time. I mean, Joe Biden's done, an entire presidency from Delaware or his basement. So, I totally get it. But for optics, Mayor Daley was at least there. Now, I got to tell you, personally, that show, that flood actually ended a TV show that I had. I used to do a show called The New 930 on Channel 32. It was kind of an offbeat look at the news. It was on at 9:30 at night. We went on hiatus. The magic word hiatus in the broadcasting or entertainment industry because they had to cover the flood for a week, and we never came back. So we went right down the sewer with the Great Flood of '92.
Another monument we could have. Well. We could.
But,
I think we should. I think we should commemorate the '68 riots. I mean, how come there is no monument to that? We could have a statue of maybe
the '68 riots. Of course, that's Martin Luther. Yeah.
The protest. I'm thinking the student protest. Wasn't that '68? The Democrat convention.
Yeah, no, the Democratic. Michigan and Balbo. That's when Buckley said to Vidal, "I'll punch you in your goddamn face." When Vidal called him a post-crypto Nazi. There was a riot in the on TV. There was a riot outside. Absolutely. There's lots of things. I was thinking things like Ryan Sandberg should have a statue. But no, you're right. 1968. We should memorialize. Here's another one. Did you see where the Bears are actually supposedly considering not moving to Arlington Heights because they can't get the right kind of tax deal? and they have talked to Mayor Johnson about somehow refurbishing Soldier Field. I don't know how you put a dome on top of a spaceship on top of a Roman Colosseum, but whatever. That's what they'd have to do. I was thinking, given Mayor Johnson's political proclivities, the Bears, if they agreed, they get a humongous tax break. They stayed at Soldier Field. If they agreed to change the name of Soldier Field to Adam Toledo Field. And of course, Adam Toledo is the 13-year-old kid who was killed by the cop. Now, is that in bad taste by me? I think so. So I'm going to delete that one. And it didn't get a laugh from you anyway. So
I didn't know Adam Toledo. Was that the one I was talking about? The kid was killed by the cop?
That's the 13-year-old. Yeah, remember the cop was chasing him.
Oh, okay.
He was firing a gun in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And then, he's like 13 years old, and it was horrible. And he raised his gun, and the cop then shot him, and it was horrible. But here's the thing,
right?
It's in bad taste. I actually had a tweet on this, and I was told it was in bad taste, and I actually deleted the tweet because of that. But the thing is I could see Mayor Johnson really wanting to see a stadium named for Adam Toledo, not because he's some kind of hero, but because he is a symbol of what's wrong and getting to the root causes of crime, of the gang problems, of the youth problems, which of course he's going to say are poverty and guns. And so that would highlight that. And I could see a Mayor Johnson being in favor of something like that. Not suggesting it sarcastically, but
oh, absolutely not.
There's statues of George Floyd.
Sure, there's a whole the whole square.
I mean that's what this is all about. Now. Matthew Shepard. Yeah, you remember Matthew Shepard? Yeah, he was a drug dealer, got killed in a drug deal going bad. He became the symbol of gay rights. Okay, and gays were happy to just use him as a symbol, even though they knew that in actuality, he was just a drug dealer. All right, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
From Sony Pictures Studios, it's American Game. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the stars of our show. Sajak and
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Boy, what an easy gig that was for Pat Sajak.
I imagine it got tedious. It's some of those puzzles were so easy to solve, and the people would just be staring at it. And myself, I could not resist going, "What are you, a moron?"
Sure. Speaking of morons, did you see that Jeopardy answer that nobody got? I think now I'm trying to remember what the answer was. It was
the first line of the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, right. Hallowed was the answer.
In their defense, the way it was worded was a little confusing.
Yeah, because they said
in the opening line of the Lord's Prayer, "This be thy name."
Yeah, right. That screws you up. This, but did they? It doesn't seem like they knew it though.
Yeah. Well, there's a good chance. There's a good chance.
Well, that's kind of bad. It reminds me.
Do you know it? Can you recite the whole Lord's Prayer?
I'm a Jew. I'm not supposed to be able.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So
no, but I know the "hallowed be thy name" part. Okay. I know that, and it reminded me of the old Saturday Night Live sketch, with Norm Macdonald as Burt Reynolds, and then the guy playing Sean Connery saying, "I'm sleeping with your wife, Trebek." A non sequitur, but apt. Yeah, that's what Jeopardy has devolved into. Yeah, so everybody wants that would be such. Everybody in show business, whatever, should be able to get the Wheel of Fortune gig for a week or a day, just to cash in that way. It's kind of unfair that it all went to Pat Sajak for 41. And you remember he had his own. He was going to be the CBS version of Johnny Carson. He actually tried to do that many years ago. Kept his day job
for about a month. Was it for about a month
like
that the Pat Sajak show was on? It lasted about as long as the Joan Rivers show.
The Joan Rivers show, Joan Rivers, right, did not. Do you know who substituted for Joan Rivers on her show? A guy named Jonathan Brandmeier, whom I worked with for really responsible for so much of my career. He subbed for her. He did a great job. Freddie Silverman. Freddie, I'm talking like I know all these guys. He then puts him, he gets him a show, and Johnny, I think, probably thought it out too much. Figured everybody's doing Letterman, whatever. I'm going to try and do something a little bit different, be nutty or something like that, and then bombed. And of course, I was happy about that because just like people are, happy when billionaires,
Sure.
Johnny bombed.
But a lot to be said for Schadenfreude.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's horrible. No, but
actually, is Vanna going to stick around, or is she gonna retire with Pat? Has there been?
You think that she'd get a shot at hosting the show a little bit? And by the way, I got to say, Jonathan Brandmeier, if anybody ever is really watching this, the guy made my career. Okay, so I ought to be grateful.
Sure.
So he really did. Although the third time I was with him, my third tour of duty, I did want to shoot myself. But that's only because there's only so much you can take. But Pat Sajak, I'm sure, was bored with this the first year. But they had the whole thing rigged for him, right? So that not rigged. I mean, they would tape like 5 shows in a day and knock out a month in a few days, right? That's what they would do.
Oh, back to Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, he wasn't right. He wasn't doing it. He wasn't showing up to work every day.
No. Yeah, but still, it's got to be and the one who, of course, Vanna is the one with the easy gig because in the beginning it took she had to actually physically turn the letters. And she should have been, she should have been eliminated like the cashiers at McDonald's.
Sure.
with technology, because they could have just binged the letters on. They no longer needed her to touch them.
So I haven't watched it in years. I mean, what does she do? She goes up to it and then just touches it and then it turns. Is that what? But it has nothing to do with it.
Originally, I guess they were touch screen, but they weren't working. So now it's just, now she just touches and then they flick a switch over because it's just
right. But
one big monitor.
Yeah, but the touching actually has nothing to do with it. Like when you're in Vegas and you see the numbers whirring and everything like that on these slot machines, all that whirring has nothing to do with anything because the result is preordained. Not that they're rigged, but it's as soon as you press the button, it's done. They just give you the bells and whistles.
What I learned?
For fun.
You know what I learned? I met a guy who worked for a print shop, and the machines that are reels where they look like they're just 3 reels that are spinning. Those aren't reels. It's actually a huge film strip. That goes through that. So it looks like it's just a round wheel with about 10 different things on it, but no, it's a film strip with like hundreds.
And speaking of rigging things, so apparently the podcast that Meghan and Prince Harry were doing, she was doing interviews on it. She wasn't actually even doing the interviews. The interviews were conducted by staffers, and then she just insert her voice later, which, I mean, that's my kind of chick. I mean, that's the way you do it.
What you think she married? Do you think she married that ginger nerd for
sure, absolutely,
because she wanted to work?
Well, I'm thinking that Oprah should do yet another interview with that couple. Gullible Oprah, but this time she should just send Cheryl Burton in to ask the questions and insert herself later, because I think Oprah, Oprah's kind of looking bad now in light of that obsequious interview that she did with couple. So
have you seen the South Park version of it? The We Want Our Privacy Tour, the worldwide international We Want Our Privacy Tour.
I thought you were going to tell me, did you see, which is what really my favorite South Park episode of all time, the Oprah episode many, many years ago. It was about Oprah's, I don't even know if I could even say it on a podcast. It was about her minge, who apparently was very upset with her, and a very private body part was upset with her. It was fighting with her. It was South Park. So meantime, as we continue with the entertainment beat, Indiana Jones, I love seeing this, canceled. Do we have that tweet by any chance? Because it's just somebody saying, talking about Indiana Jones, how it's just some white guy conquering the world, and it there goes our whole Indiana Jones. I mean, forget the sequels that weren't any good.
There's a line in the trailer for the new Indiana Jones that I've lost all interest in. Is they're talking about, wait, you stole it from them, he stole it from you, and you stole it from him. And she goes, yeah, that's capitalism.
Okay, great.
I saw that's in the trailer, and I guess it's supposed to be a joke. And
yeah,
it's like,
so it says here, Indiana Jones gets called colonizer white male in the movie. I just like that. Well, is Spielberg going to give back all the royalties and because that made him? I mean, you can't just all of a sudden sanitize yourself when you made your fortune based on this 40 years ago. So,
yeah, 40 years ago, traveling to a country that was run by a third world country and stealing their archaeological treasures was okay. There was nothing. That was just done in the name of science. So
right. So Spielberg's trying to atone, much like Teddy Kennedy became a liberal after he drowned that girl. Yeah, sure, I understand.
So Indiana Jones, he's going to return the crystal skull to the Mayans.
Yeah, right.
He's going to return the Ark of the Covenant to the Jews. He's going to.
Oh yeah. So Richard Lewis, who's I guess suffering from Parkinson's, and I've met him a few times. He's hysterical. But and he was talking about Al Pacino, and he said Pacino's been incredibly kind to me for decades. Clearly, his craft and persona make him a transcendent actor. Still, why couldn't I have auditioned for Scarface? And actually, Lewis and Pacino do look kind of similar. And all I could think of is because he would have debated the pros and cons of saying "Say hello to my little friend" for about 4 hours before he would have done anything, and the movie had to move. So yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Did you see that Good Humor is getting rid of the toasted almond bar? I didn't even know Good Humor still exists. Do they even let men go around in neighborhoods with white outfits in trucks? I didn't know they allowed that, but
well, as long as you announce yourself with the turkey. Well, I don't even know if the turkey in the straw. I heard that song is actually has racist roots too.
Okay,
so I don't know what they're allowed to play. The Good Humor of my youth had the bells, had the jing 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 jing, and that was.
I haven't seen the truck, but anyway, they got rid of toasted almond. And in the story, guess who owns Good Humor? I read in the story. You should know who owns Good Humor.
Klondike? Is that
Unilever? It's Unilever, which owns Ben and Jerry's, which owns everything, which is the big foreign conglomerate that owns everything and tries to be politically correct, even though they own everything. Yeah.
No, do they own the ice cream trucks, or do they just own the brand? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Two separate I imagine it's two separate divisions.
I don't really know. I didn't go that far into it.
Because I don't think because you can buy Taco Bell, Taco Mix, and Taco Shells, but I don't think they're really Taco Bell. I think they just have the Taco Bell brand for that. Whereas I think Taco Bell restaurants are as a separate entity.
I see that. Well, we went a whole broadcast and we didn't even mention how they tried to rape railroad Samuel Alito, and he wouldn't let them because he preempted their attack by doing an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Way to go, Alito. They're sticking it to the media. How did ProPublica get upset about that? Oh, yeah. And I love that. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.